Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order, that being the regular council meeting of Township of Warwick, July 10th, 2023. And of course, we start at 3:30. So I have called the meeting to order. I'll remind council of the disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest. If anybody has one, please declare it at the proper time. I welcome everybody who's tuning in through YouTube today. And I'm going to do the acknowledgement of the ancestral lands. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered here today, Township of Warwick, is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, as well as the many Indigenous nations in Ontario, whose footsteps have marked them for centuries. We also wish to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 29 and Treaty 25 territories signed by Chippewa chiefs and offer our respect and gratitude for these lands. We're going to go to number 5 on the agenda, if we could, please, and that's minutes of previous meetings, and that being the meeting of June 12th, 2023. Council, did anybody have any questions on those minutes? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion. Deputy Mayor Kallenberg, Councillor Manning is seconding that. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, there was no business arising from those minutes. You? Let's go to 7 if we can, council. That's scheduled meetings and events. They're there. If anybody has any questions or comments, please let the clerk or deputy clerk know. Let's go to B, and that's other meetings and events. And there's one listed there, and that is the AMO conference coming up August 20th to 23. And we still are waiting on our requests for meetings with minister. Yeah. Yes, thank you. We'll go to number 8. And that's councilors' commitments and items. Council commitment dates. Does anybody have anything they wish to add to the list? Yes, Councillor Manning.
Yeah, the dates are the 15th to the 21st of July. I'll be unavailable. I'll be go away on vacation.
Very good, Councillor. Anybody else have anything they want to add at this point in time? Councillor Morris.
Yeah, I'll be out of commission September 1st to the probably about the 21st for knee surgery.
Very good, sir. Well, good luck. Good luck with all that. Councillor? Nothing else to add? Let's go to councillors' items, verbal reports. I think I'll start with Joe today. Joe, did you have anything at all?
Oh, I have nothing.
Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
Yeah, just Friday night, sorry, at the beach mount, they're having trouble with the lights in the parking lot and coming on. So I don't know if there's, whether it's because of lights we had up, whether that affected them or not. So was just checking it when you get time.
Okay, Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Kallenberg. That's something that we can certainly look into.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Morris, did you have anything?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. Andrew, what's going on with the grass on the side of the road not being cut? I'm getting some calls.
Thank you. I'll have a look into that. To my knowledge, we're still doing roadside grass cutting, but I'll have a look.
Okay. The other thing was the speed warning sign on Confed. We got problems with it, I take it?
There were some initial problems getting it up and running. To my knowledge, it was. Oh, it's okay. I'll look into it. Should be a simple fix.
I guess Andrew, I'm picking on you. The other thing was, do we have a schedule for the repair of the rest of the road maintenance? Like I think we had some to do on Churchill and Zion to be finished, etc.
Yeah, so like an update on the capital projects. I don't have anything provided this council meeting, but I can verbally give one. So Churchill, we have a site meeting with an engineer at the end of the month to kind of scope the project, what the issue is. Zion line, they've got 1 day of crack sealing, and then there should be 3 to 4 days of surface treatment. So that should be wrapped up next week. And then Burnham has not started yet, so we're waiting for a pre-construction meeting on Burnham. And then Industrial Drive, they're in the process of installing the sanitary storm and water. That I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, but it went to at least the end of July.
I toured Zion and there's some pavement breaking up already, the new pavement. Are they coming back to fix that, I take it?
Absolutely. Yep. There were a couple problem issues that we're going to investigate and take care of.
All I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Councillor Westgate.
I have nothing today.
Okay, I have nothing as well. I won't have a comment today. I'll remind everybody, we are going to have our next meeting will be a special meeting to deal with the financial position of the municipality. So that'll be our next regular scheduled council meeting. So I'm sure we'll have some other updates on some other capital projects as far as some of the operations numbers where we are halfway through. So we'll look forward to seeing that as well. Let's go to staff items, and our first one we're going to have is 9A. Ken, could you please come up? It's going to be a verbal update from Ken. Ken is our manager of planning, as everybody knows, and he's going to give us a verbal update on additional dwelling units. Ken, when you're situated, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, your worship, members of council. Just a brief verbal update. As council is aware, late last year, we held a number of open houses related to 3 community planning matters. And one of them that we added into the mix was the question of additional dwelling units. Additional dwelling units are basically smaller units contained already in a single detached semi, row house, or townhouse. And then could also occur either attached to or above a detached garage or in an independent structure. As we were going through that process, the province did adopt Bill 23, as you're aware, which made a number of changes to the Planning Act, which over time, we've been getting some clarity on. Unfortunately, that clarity has not always been as focused as we would like walking through a foggy night. Needless to say, we received some advice from the legal community on 2 different occasions that now appears to have been actually incorrect, mainly around you can wait and update your official plans and your zoning bylaw amendments, and that will bring into effect Bill 23. The province has since come back through a variety of channels and said, no, there was no transition. It's in effect immediately. So we are just bringing back a verbal update to you to advise that what we're doing as a team is going through your official plan and zoning bylaw to look at where the gaps are in terms of the direction from the province that will override and provide direction, and then where we need to make some clarity changes. Remember, council, that when we reported back to you in January for those open houses, you gave us direction, but no timeline to bring these amendments back. So this will, in essence, achieve some of that. And these changes that are in Bill 23 affect parcels that are serviced, so on sewer and water only. This doesn't impact rural properties where it would be septic and well. But Johan is currently working to look at your existing zoning bylaw regulations and where the Planning Act will override, and then where there are some gaps or potential areas of, I will call it gray areas, where we need to do amendments in the hopes that we can bring those forward to you as quickly as possible. Council is aware that there's a couple of issues that we're dealing with here in the municipality. I'm reasonably confident that we'll be able to get through those issues actually utilizing Bill 23, which will actually make it more helpful for a couple of those folks. But we're going to be dealing with those on a case-by-case basis to navigate them forward. So that's basically the update, your worship. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ken. Did anybody have any questions for Ken? Yes, Deputy Mayor Kellenberg.
Just some clarity. You said the rural property, so does that affect our zoning bylaw, or it doesn't affect, or we have to do that change or not?
So through your worship, as you'll recall, when we briefed you in January following those public meetings, it was really my goal to try to do this once. Unfortunately, the province has decided to intervene in such a way that we're going to have to do this twice. So what ended up happening was with Bill 23, they focused on urban parcels that are serviced with sewer, water, etc. Because that's what is in effect now and is causing the change, that's the extent to which we can update. There will be some things that will get touched up, that will still impact rural properties to some extent. But the province has moved those questions into the new provincial planning statement that will affect rural properties. So we're gonna have to wait for that. My money is on, it will be dropped at 4:35 on a long weekend over Friday and at the end of August.
Anybody else have a question for Ken or a comment based on his verbal report? Seeing none, Ken, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to go to 9B, and that's a verbal update from Amanda Gubbles, our CAO clerk, on third-party engineering review process for site plan applications and next steps. Amanda, please.
Thank you, Mayor Case. I just wanted to provide council a brief update that following some recent feedback from some local developers about our site plan process, in particular, the scope of comments from our third-party engineer review firm. The township staff team has conducted a review of the last 2 years of third-party engineering review comments, and we have found some scoping inconsistencies. So we are planning to meet together as a team to clarify the scope and then also to meet with our current third-party engineering review provider to clarify with them roles and expectations. The hope, of course, is to streamline that site plan process and address the concerns I think that were recently brought forward. So just wanted you to know that our target is to complete that process by the end of July.
Thank you, Amanda. Do we have any questions for Amanda? Any comments on her verbal? No, very good. Thank you, Amanda. We'll move on. So the next part of our agenda is delegations and timed events, but they're not starting till 4. So I'm going to jump ahead to number 11 on our agenda, which is accounts. 11A is the GL report. Did anybody have any questions on the GL report? Seeing none, let's go to the accounts payable. Did anybody have any questions on the accounts payable this time around? And I'll give everybody a chance to get to where they need to be if they have a question. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve both the GL and the accounts payable in one motion. Thank you, Councillor Manning. Do we have a second? Councillor Morris, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to number 12, our consent agenda. And we have 2 items here to deal with. It's the minutes from the special council meeting of June 26th. Did anybody have any questions on those minutes? No? Okay, then what we'll do is we'll get to the bottom and we'll approve it through the non-consent process. The second piece is 12B, and that's a non-action correspondence. Did anybody have anything in the non-action they wanted to pull out and maybe have a discussion on? Yes, Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
I just can't remember if we had a discussion last time on 0720-22, just the municipal insurance costs. Whether we supported that earlier or not.
Either the clerk or deputy clerk remember that? I can't remember if we've dealt with that or not. And we're not sure, Deputy Mayor. I know it's been something that's been talked about for quite some time. And there's a lack of options out there. At the end of the day, that's the problem. I think there might be 2, maybe 3, but I think maybe 2. Councillor Westgate?
I'm quite sure we supported that maybe a year ago, probably the last term.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm sure we had supported, maybe this is a new one, but we have supported one like that.
Very good. Well, maybe what we can do, can we just ask staff to maybe go back and see what was done last term and see if that did come up? And if not, we can bring it back forward again. Anybody else have anything on the non-action correspondence they wanted to bring forward today or separate? Seeing none? No, okay. Then I would entertain a motion that would approve the non-consent agenda. Councillor Morris, Councillor Westgate, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Go to number 13, reports and items requiring a motion. We have action correspondence, very unusual. We have 1 item on our action correspondence, 07-59. How does council wish to deal with this request? It's a request as we had not too long ago for somebody for extra dust control, for which they would pay for that themselves. So it's very, very similar to the one we had before. How does council wish to deal with that particular piece? Moved by Councilor Morris. We have a seconder, Deputy Mayor Kellenberg. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, let's go to 13B if we could. And 13B is the cost of living wage adjustment. And there's a recommendation there. It's the same recommendation that was in our budget report. How does council wish to deal with this particular piece of business?
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Kellenberg, seconded by Councilor Morris. Any further discussion on this one? All in favor? That's carried. We'll go to 12C. And that's the Economic Development and Promotions Quarterly Update. There's two parts to this with two recommendations. The first one is the quarterly report update for the second quarter, and the recommendation, there is a recommendation this one for that one. How does council wish to deal with the first recommendation? Councilor Morris, are you approving? Moved by Councilor Morris, seconded by Councilor Westgate. Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And then we have recommendation number 2. And that's the council direction on expectations for Welcome to Warwick Guide, availability and delivery. Any questions or comments on this? It is one of those things they're kind of looking for a little bit of direction at the same time. I think there was maybe some options. Stephanie, do you want to speak to this at all?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Case. So staff have been working to create a Welcome to Warwick guide for new folks moving to the community, as well as new businesses that might be coming to town. This was something that council had asked for last term. And so we're just looking for some guidance as to how you would like the deliverable provided to these folks. We had 3 options written down: whether we wanted to have it available at the municipal offices information kiosk, whether council would like staff to mail the welcome guide to new homeowners, or whether a member of council would prefer to hand deliver the guide.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. So there are some options, I guess, if I can call it that are available to council. Anybody want to start us off with a comment or two? Deputy Mayor Kellenberg.
I think if we mailed it to a new homeowner, that would be appropriate, and if they have any questions, I'm sure counselors' names will be on there. If they have any questions, they can contact us or whatnot.
All right. Anybody else? Councilor Westgate.
I think probably delivering is a better option in person from one of us. Then if they have any questions, we can answer right there. And there's lots of things like waste, where to pick your leaves, and that you could answer if they have any questions at all. Clubs in town and churches and everything.
Okay, so we've had 2 suggestions, both good suggestions. Stephanie?
Yeah, if I may, Councillor Westgate, those details will actually be included in the welcome guide, as well as different services that the municipality provides, as well as additional services like waste collection, water, that sort of thing.
Councilor Morris.
Yeah, Stephanie, does the service clubs and a contact in the package too?
Yes, those are included for the ones that we do have available. And we also have the schools and the places of worship included as well. And we're happy to provide a copy to members of council if they'd like to review ahead of time, just in case there's anything that you would like added.
Thank you, Stephanie. Actually, that's what I was going to suggest, is that when we get down to where you feel you've got your model perfected, you could bring it back and let council have a look at it and just see if there's anything we could suggest over and above. But it sounds like a pretty good model thus far. So again, I mean, as far as how we deliver it, I mean, there's been a couple options, a couple suggestions by councilors on how it can be done. Wants to mail it, wants to personally deliver it. I mean, the one thing about that, we need somebody that would be dedicated, if it was going to be a counselor, to take that job on, to deliver it to the individuals. If we mail it, it's a simpler process. You mail it directly to them and they get it. There's nothing wrong with the personal touch. It's kind of nice too, but at the same time, we need somebody to take that on. Counselor Manning.
Yeah, I'm with Jerry on that. I have no issue with hand delivering those, but it'd be nice to have the backup plan for the mail delivery if there's nobody available. That's all I'm thinking.
Okay, yes, Counselor Morris.
What if we kind of came up with a two-ended approach here, mail it and then do a follow-up visit? How are you gonna keep track of who's coming in? Is it by the roll numbers or the tax? How do you know if somebody new moved in or not?
It's through the taxes.
Okay. Yes, Counselor Manning.
Actually, the suggestion Counselor Morris makes, I kind of like that. It gives them time to absorb the material a little, maybe develop some questions, and then we can be there to answer it rather than if it's presented to them, I'm sure they're gonna have a lot of questions and it'd be easier just to give them time to absorb the material. So actually, I do agree with that.
Okay. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor Calvert?
I guess keeping track of the book, yearly we have presidents and that change from our service clubs and minor hockey and all that stuff to keep it fluid. So I'm assuming we're not going to print like 100 or copies, just have it available to print. Okay.
That is correct, right, Stephanie?
Yes, it is.
Very good. So I guess maybe just to be able to move forward here, and we are going to see a draft copy before it goes out anyways. So it's not like we need a commitment from anybody today, but if we're going to go with the personal touch, we really need somebody to take on the task. That doesn't mean that particular counselor is going to be responsible every time for making sure it gets done. I'm sure we all work very well together here. I'm sure we can make arrangements, but maybe that's what I can leave everybody with to think about. Stephanie's going to bring a draft copy to us eventually, and everybody can think about it and decide if they want to be the one that takes that task on. And the two-prong approach does work. I mean, to get something that somebody follows up, it works out quite nicely. And I guess it shows and displays our country roots and how we do things here. So I'll leave it with everybody to kind of think about. We'll get the draft piece from Stephanie and we can take a look at that and go from there. So thank you, Stephanie, for putting that there in front of us. And I guess we're looking for a motion here that council directs what their expectations are. And I think we've just done that. Amanda, you want to help me out here?
Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor Case. I think at this point, my recommendation might be to actually leave this for more discussion when the guide comes back. It was brought to my attention after agenda publishing just this morning about some concerns with freedom of information and provision of ownership details. Those were not considered at the time of writing the report. So that would give us a little bit of time to investigate those concerns and create a more detailed recommendation or options for council when you see the guide.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Council, everybody's okay with that? Very good. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Stephanie. And any new business or notice of motion today? I don't believe there is. Very good. So we've got about 7 minutes before we go to timed events. So what I'm going to do is call a brief recess for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll deal with timed events. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Next part of our agenda is our 4 o'clock time event, and that's consideration meeting of the McKay Drain. I now have a process that I will go through. So the next order of business is the consideration of the drainage report. It's dated July 10th, 2023. And it's my duty to state the following. We now proceed into consideration of the drainage report for the McKay Drain 2023. Any petitioner has the right to withdraw from the petition. Does anyone wish to withdraw? Seeing no one. Any other owners in the area requiring drainage have the right to sign the petition. Does anyone wish to sign the petition? Seeing no one. Next, I will go to Mike DeVos of Spreets and Associates. Will you please explain your report? Mike, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This report is a report prepared under section 78 of the Drainage Act for repair and improvement to the existing McKay drain. It is an existing tile drain that runs through lot 2 in concession 6 and concession 7, both upstream and downstream of Egremont Road, down to the open channel outlet, again, close to Forest Road. The request was to replace the old drain and actually relocate it slightly, as well as abandon the portion upstream of Egremont Road. So we are looking to install a new drain, and it would consist of 16-inch diameter tile right from the outlet up to and across Egremont Road, and abandon the old drain. It will not be a municipal drain. The landowner is tiling or has already tiled a portion of that property. So it's not required anymore in its existing location. And then the existing drain upstream, the main drain would be abandoned. We will be putting in catch basins on both sides of the road. It is a relatively flat drain. And the depth required at the road was in conflict with the water main. So there was some adjustments that were having to made to the drain to accommodate that. But that has been done and is included. And I'd stop and open up to questions.
Let's get you to hit your microphone. Thanks. Thanks very much, Mike. Andrew, did you have any comments on this particular drain?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. Does anyone who's present wish to ask any questions or make any comments? Councillor Morris.
Yeah, Mike, how come the owners' names aren't on this report?
Are you referring to the schedule of assessment or the plan?
Report for agenda, it just says McCain Drain. It's the McCain Drain Township of Warwick. I don't see anybody's. You got roll numbers on here, but there's no owner's names on any of it. That's not usual.
Heather, if you'd be so kind.
We were advised by MPAC that we were not supposed to be providing that to the public. So we've left the roll numbers, but removed the names of the owners.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. That makes sense. Do we have anybody else? Councillor Westgate.
They're still on the drawings. You can't address that. You can't take them out. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Seeing none? Okay. So it's my duty to state the following. If the report is approved, the bylaw will be given first and second reading later in the meeting. Thank you for attending. And we'll move on to the next part of business. So thank you very much to everybody that attended. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so that concludes the open part of our agenda for today. We now will be going in cameras. So anybody who's on YouTube, this will be it. I'm sorry, did I miss something? Oh, I'm sorry. We do have an additional delegation. Sorry, ladies. Please come up. Please come up. That's what happens when you start juggling the agenda and going from thing to thing. Anyways, we have today with us, we have Kathy Brissett, Executive Director of Northampton Community Healthcare, Nicole Palek, Manager of Integrated Services, Canadian Mental Health Association, and Adrian Appledorn, Director of Fund Development and Communications at the Canadian Mental Health Association. Again, ladies, my apologies. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I don't know who the main spokesperson is going to be, who's going to start us off, but please, the floor is
So I'll get us started off. Does everybody have our slide deck?
Yes, we do.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to lead us through the slides, and Nicole and Kathy are both here to answer any questions you may have or address any concerns. The first slide, it just kind of goes through our partners. This is a pretty significant partnership. The Northampton Community Health Centre, the Blue Water Health, and our Ontario Health team, along with CMHA. We've been working on this initiative for quite some time. One of our key strategic goals is to get out into rural communities and address the needs of people in your communities that might have barriers to care. So just to start out with, what is mobile care? So mobile care is a clinic on wheels that travels to participating communities and locations to increase access to mental health and addictions, as well as primary care. And we actually have purchased 2 units, one for Sarnia Lambton and one for Chatham Kent. They are 40-foot mobile. Well, they're similar to a Winnebago. They look a little bit different just because our best advice was to not get the traditional Winnebago format for winter driving, but I've got pictures in here as well. Our intent is really to get out and provide early access to mental health and addictions, and certainly primary care is a critical piece to that. A little bit of background, the call for government funding came out at the end of 2020, and it was a pretty quick turnaround. We had done quite a bit of work in advance to determine what do our communities need, and social determinants of health, as I'm sure you're very familiar with, can have a tremendous impact on the quality and well-being of people in our communities. So we knew we needed to invest in something along these lines. We looked back at our strategic plan, and again, reaching out to rural communities was pretty important in that plan. We're very client and family centered focused. We certainly at that point reached out to our partners. Again, Kathy at the CHC was pretty important conversations back then. And we identified and pulled together the proposal for the mobile health unit. Our proposal was approved, and about 2 years later, we finally received our vehicles. We did do quite a lot. You'll notice on this page, there's quite a few pictures of different units and what they look like. Across North America, this is very much something that a lot of communities are exploring, and there's a lot of different models. Particularly the dental sector is really reaching out to communities in this way as well. We also researched vendors and completed the procurement process for the 2 units. So as I said, 2 years later, we received our 2 mobile units. COVID slowed us down, I will say. There were, you'll remember the ports in San Francisco were backed up. So of course we had a chassis on a boat coming from overseas, so that delayed us a bit, but you can see some pictures here. It's wheelchair accessible. We have a primary care office, and they're pretty impressive units. Inside, you'll see that we've divided into the primary care clinic, a triage and waiting room, and a room for therapies as well. Okay, so the logistics, we've done quite a lot of work on trying to determine, and this is kind of an art and a science all wrapped up into one, where is the greatest need? So we've worked very closely with Blue Water Health and the Community Health Center to do some data heat maps to determine where people are coming from that are accessing mental health and addiction services, who's presenting at hospital, what services might be available in communities for folks. Really looked at what an operating budget would be for a vehicle of this nature. And then we really worked on our staffing complement. So mental health first response, we have a nurse practitioner from the community health center. Blue Water Health is providing withdrawal management services. Right now, I would say this is our starting point. As we come into different communities, we will be discovering, housing is really an issue in this community. Maybe we need to bring on some housing team members. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. This is where we're starting. A lot of policies and procedures. It's one thing to be outside of the four walls of your organization. It's quite another to be completely out in the community delivering care. So things like weather safety, what it's like driving out to say Highway 22 in January when we know there's a storm coming, or a tornado warning mid-August, that type of thing. And then there's lots of logistics. So certainly the supplies and electrical and water hookups. We do have generators on both of these units, but again, they can be, this group probably knows as well as anybody how finicky equipment can be at times. Currently, these are our scheduled locations. You'll see in Lambton County and Kent County. And then we are also looking at how we best serve the Indigenous communities in the region. Currently, we will be in Sarnia 1 day a week. We will be ideally in Thetford, Watford, Brook Alvinston, and then also we'll be, we're trying to start off small, and then we do envision ourselves expanding services as we learn more about where we can be of service. We also have been in conversation with Kettle and Stony Point, Delaware Nation, Walpole Island, and Amjanong as well. One thing I will point out, the model of care is a little bit different in Chatham-Kent. I know there won't be a lot of crossover here, but you may hear of people who are down Highway 79 a bit that may see something different in the Thamesville area. And that's because we have different partners at the table in the Chatham-Kent zone. So the brand of mobile care, you'll notice that it's not specifically CHC or Blue Water Health or CMHA look and feel. We really tried to do something that was inclusive of all of our organizations. We did receive a lot of input from clients and patient advisors. The Indigenous community of practice gave us some incredible guidance with regards to the image of the cedar tree represents health and wellness. So we really wanted to bring something to the table that was inclusive of all. And you'll notice there's an option for 3 trees or 1 tree. And again, that's all intended to be, it's a community effort, but it's an individual journey. We really heard from clients that they did not want the bus. We often refer to it as the bus. They didn't want it to be the mental health and addictions bus. So really it's mobile care, a community health outreach. It's about so much more than just mental health and addictions. If we can connect people early, their outcomes are significantly better. And then you'll see an artist rendering of the bus. We will be getting the wrap adhered to the bus. We're just working through some details with our manufacturer. So we're a little bit delayed on that, but we're thinking within the next month or two, we'll be on the road. On the back of the bus is where we'll see our partner organizations' logos. Again, really intended to be inclusive of all, not just focused on one or the other. And our next steps are to confirm the specific locations in the communities. We've been back and forth with Amanda over the last month or so and trying to determine where best would be the most appropriate place in Watford to park the vehicle so that folks could come out and get the care that they need. I know we've received a lot of questions about, who can access care? Quite frankly, the bus is for anybody who needs care. We may find that, there's a mom with kids in an ear infection. And if we're in your community, by all means, we're here to help. It is primarily for mental health and addictions, but lots of people will find, we were talking about this earlier, somebody may come in and we find they have a cut on their hand and it's just not healing. And that might be, once you peel back the onion, the layers of the onion, that might be because, their substance use is slowing down that healing process, and it opens the door to getting the different supports that they need. We do need to complete trial runs of our route, test our technology. We are intending to celebrate with a grand opening. And as I mentioned earlier, once we operationalize the plans, once we take a look at how things are working, then we'll dig into, okay, what needs to be adjusted for each community. And certainly a key piece of the work that we do is always program reviews and adapting as necessary. So we do have a couple of key takeaways here for you. We are a clinic on wheels that travels to communities. We do support folks across their lifespan and across the continuum of services available to them. No appointments or referrals are necessary. The services are available for anybody. There is no cost to patients to access services. We will be asking for OHIP cards if people have them, so that we can connect their patient care record to that at the CHC or at the hospital, so that all their care providers can connect the care that they've received. And that's all based too on consent from patients on what they would like us to share within their circle of care. So I've just zipped through a lot of information for folks here. Does anyone have any questions or an area that you'd like us to explain a little bit more detail? Do
we have any questions, Councilman?
Just
Deputy Mayor Kallenberg.
Just wondering how we're gonna spread the word that you're in town, or like, do you want help from us to do that, or are you planning on doing that yourselves?
So currently, we're trying to start out slow. We don't know. We quite frankly don't know how many people will start to access services on the mobile care unit. One of the things that I think that is going to be the number one thing is word of mouth and frontline providers. So we have a communications plan in place to provide information to, the community health center knows about the service so well, but there's other organizations in town like churches and service groups. So at this point, I don't have something specific, but we will be coming back to you to say, how best do we communicate this? One of the things that we've done recently at CMHA is a postcard campaign. So to send postcards to every member in your postal code area is actually quite efficient and provides us with the opportunity to provide a 1-800 number, as well as currently our schedule is tentative, so we're not prepared to post that just yet. But the 1-800 number would give people a chance to call and find out.
And I think we are planning to have the same day. Oh, sorry. We are planning to have the same day schedule. So if it's Tuesday or Thursday or Wednesday, so people get used to knowing when the bus will come is important. And most of the same providers until we know anything different. So people get trusting people as well. So
we're working on a website as well, and that's ideally where our schedule will be posted so that anyone can go on and take a look as to where the bus will be. And then once that schedule is finalized, we can provide flyers to you to post there. I'm sure there's a communications board somewhere or a centralized location.
Anybody else have a question for our guest today? Seeing none, well, listen, thank you very much for your presentation. And again, my apologies. When you flip around the agenda like we do from time to time, around timed events, sometimes this happens. So again, my apologies and thank you very much for your presentation. And we really do appreciate the fact you're looking at our community to provide this service. So again, continue to communicate with Amanda, and we look forward to see, the schedule when you're ready to bring it forward. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Thank you, ladies. Okay, this will this time conclude the public portion of our YouTube broadcast today. So thank you very much to everybody who tuned in. And now, council, I'm going to ask for a motion to go in camera pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 to deal with 2 and number 11. Do I have a motion? Councillor Manning and Councillor Morris, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.